Out on the sea, searching for something that really found me. I didn't know it, but it drew me to it. Soon I was full of its passion in me. I'm Italo Labignan. 40 years I've fished the world and have learned it's not just about catching the fish, the size of the fish, or the numbers. It's about appreciating every sunrise and sunset, the smell of the sea, savoring the culture and the fish with friends. Here's the catch. It's the total experience. Presented by Bear Reels, versatile, precision, handcrafted hybrid center pins. Seabreeze boats, tame the oceans. Raymarine Electronics. Raymarine, simply superior. My fishing day starts early again. How do you get ready for a full day's fishing? You have a nice breakfast that includes bacon. Next, you head to your favorite spot and try to catch some live bait fish. Now, changing winds have moved the bait around, and sometimes it's work trying to find them. One eye on the fishing rod, one eye on the fish finder until you spot some bait fish. Then it's lower the sabiki and see if you can stay on top of them. Man, so tricky to get these bait fish. You know, we're fishing out here in the Gulf. We've got a lot rougher conditions than they were calling for. And we've just marked some bait fish. And we're using something called the sabiki rig, which is very popular in salt water. It's a rig that has a lot of small, tiny fly hooks on it. And they're not very expensive. And the one challenge is that the hooks are very light metal, so they open up if you get any larger fish. And they're on a very light leader. So these first 3 hooks on the bottom were all open. And I had a nice sized bait fish on just a few seconds ago, and it actually broke off the fly that was right there. So I'm just checking all of them. Man, these are all open. Small bait fish are slim pickings this morning. So I dropped down a small jig to see if there's some aggressive blue runners around. Guess what? Bingo! Let's see what we've got here. It's one of the bait fish that we're going for. Yeah, it's a blue runner. So we're going to be targeting some barracuda and kingfish, and I just want to show you one of the top bait fish to use. This is called the blue runner. And I was using a sabiki rig a little while ago, and these guys, because they're bigger and they have a lot of fight to them, were tearing apart my hooks. So I thought I'd go with a small jig. This is a vertical jigging spoon. It's about, I'm going to say 3/4 ounce. And you can see that he nailed it. The one reason why they work so well is they have a lot of energy when you rig them up as a live bait fish. So he's in the live well. Let's see if there's some more down there. Okay. I'll tell you, for little guys, you got a lot of energy. Come on, come on, come on. You have blue runner in the boat. 2 points. That's what we're looking for. When you're jigging near the bottom, even with a small jig, you never know what you're going to hook up. You know, they're little fish, but they got so much energy. And for someone that, you know, doesn't fish saltwater much, even getting these fish, they would have a blast. Ha! It's actually an eating size snapper. Look at, this is a nice lane snapper. So I'm wondering if he's feeding on the same thing. This guy's actually going to go in the box, because believe it or not, he's a dinner for one person. So we weren't planning on bottom fishing right now, but hey, sometimes you got to take what you get, right? Look, oh, slow down here. I don't want to get spined too bad. Just want to show them to you. Look at those beautiful colors. And that's perfect eating size too. That fish is about a pound and a quarter. Gorgeous stripes. Okay, let me get some more of those blue runners. Bait in the live well, it's time to move to our first spot. Get the live bait rigged and start targeting eating size fish. You know when you get all excited, start pulling the baits, Bear Reels loaded, and no bites. Okay, so I can enjoy the view, keep my eye on the fish finder, watch the boats out around me doing the same thing, think nice thoughts, and before you know it, it hits you. They're not here. Okay, Okay, plan B. Let's switch to cut bait and try our bottom fishing. Even in my case, plan A doesn't always pan out. When I fish frozen bait, I like to take my time and trim the tails off, cut the larger bait fish in half and get them ready to rig. Kind of like doing crafts with frozen fish, you know, cutting, placing, hooking, hopefully catching some nice eating size fish. Even if I use a half a bait fish, I like to rig them on a double hook and a sliding sinker rig. That way, I'm sure to hook up a hungry grouper or a finicky snapper. Nice bite right off the bat. You know, it's nice when you get to a spot, cut up your bait, and put your first drop down and get a fish on. You know, I love the sonar. You can see on the sonar, you can see me fighting the fish. Look at that zigzag line, is that fish coming up off the bottom. You know, we had a little bit rougher weather coming out earlier this morning. We caught some bait. Now we're on the spot. It's a nice start. Okay, nice chunky grouper. He was hooked on the front hook. Isn't that a beautiful fish? Look at it. Right here from the Gulf of Mexico. I don't mind catching these all day long. I'm looking for some big bruisers though. Hopefully there'll be some here. Now, you know, when you're in salt water, one of the best ways to release the fish is just to toss them out, because when they hit the water, they actually take off. It's almost like they wake them up. You know, we've got live bait in the live well. You can probably hear the pump going, but we've also got some frozen bait. Same bait, they're bait fish that I caught a couple days ago. We're using these double hooks because a lot of times you get some really nice snappers down here. And I find that with the double hook, you can get them a little bit easier. The snappers are very hard to hook sometimes. Okay, Italo, we got a fish on. Here's the green. And you know, I'm using a center pin reel. This is that bear reel. And good thing I got a black bear shirt on in 80-degree weather. You know, just to keep warm. Nice fish. Look at, good fish. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's what we're talking about right there. See if he stays on. Oh, look at, isn't that a gorgeous fish? Very nice grouper. Hook just in the edge of the mouth. Got one hook down there. Okay, this is a new meaning to a flying fish. You ready? I'm not going to drop him too far. I'm going to drop him right here. Watch. He should take off pretty quick. Drop him in, and there he goes. One tail kick. Okay, the action is steady. I rebait, lower my line down, get ready for another hit. Got to keep the pressure on or they come off, and guess what? Did it come off? No, it's still on there. It's a small snapper. And it's on the front hook again. This is a lane snapper. They're great eating. That's actually a keeper size fish, but we're interested more in larger fish. So we're gonna let this guy go. So I'm just gonna drop him over the side again and right down. And guess what? I can still use that same piece of meat. Oh, he was just holding on to it. I miss more fish than I hook. I rebait, drop down, get a nibble, set the hook, miss the fish, lose my bait, repeat. Kind of feels like the movie Groundhog Day, only out of a boat and out in the Gulf. So I'm gonna hit this off there, so we're free drifting. Look, I like the little symbol. Can you tell which one is the anchor? It's got a little anchor mode right there. This is the propeller, that means go. This is more go. This is less go. This is go left, go right. This is go straight on track. It's got all kinds of neat stuff here. Very easy commands. So now we're just going to free drift for a little bit. Action has been consistent, but I'm looking for some smaller bottom fish for dinner. Time to move. Look for some hard bottom and see if I can get some nice snapper, or maybe even porgy. You know what, for the weight of the rods that we're using, when you see them bend over like that, you know you've got a decent fish on. They're coming from like 70 feet of water. So they usually fight hard for the first while, and then as you start bringing them up through the water column, you can see them. See them down there? It's another grouper again. Nice fish. Because they've got to move up the atmospheres, they kind of lose their fight. Trying to heave them up. you know what? I won't get bored catching these all day long. Okay, grouper, bye-bye. Beautiful fish. That's all there is to it. Now I need another bait. I find some good-looking bottom and I start digging in the cooler for some more frozen bait. This time I'll have the frozen bait ready, but I'm also going to use some live bait. Hopefully this spot will produce a couple more snapper. It's kind of nice, you know you got a bigger fish on when you set the hook and it literally doesn't give. It wants to go the other way. This isn't a monster, but he's got a good fight. I'm doing the palm drag to bring him out. I'm practicing for those big ones. Come on, you gorgeous fish, you. You know what, they're actually hard to lift. Look at, you can see that bait fish just hanging there. You know, if you look inside, I'll show you, they actually have quite a few teeth. I don't know if you can see them here. See all the row of teeth there? If I pull the gum back a little bit in there, there's no way you can lip this fish. And inside, I don't know if you see, it's kind of like an orangey color. There's teeth on the inside of the mouth as well. You know, when you're getting them from like 70 feet or more, you got to be patient, even though you try to get them up kind of quick. Yep, another nice grouper. Look at how clear that water is. Isn't that gorgeous? Beautiful. Come on. It's got that big chunk of fish. There. Just lock the reel for a sec. Get my hand down there. And again, he's got it by the front hook, which is kind of neat. And man, he inhaled it. So he was either starving or he likes the taste of a blue runner, bait fish. There. Got that out? I might even be able to use that bait fish again. It's very interesting. He's got, oh, you know what? Look at, this is interesting. I've never caught a fish in salt water. It's either monofilament, I think it's a tag, but I can't read it. It's definitely a tag. So I don't know, I haven't heard of saltwater fish being tagged, but that guy was tagged. Very, very interesting. Anyway, we're going to be releasing him. There. Come on. With your tag, go back down there. Look at the chunk of this fish here that I'm using. I took the head part on, and you know what? I'm going to use it again. I'm going to get that hook through. I find that for the grouper, you can't use a bait big enough sometimes. I'm going to hook him just through the mouth. And that guy just swallowed it. He was hooked really well there. So the reason I'm not hooking it mid-body, I want it to be pretty hydrodynamic when it's falling so that it falls straight down instead of, helicoptering it. So I find that if you hook it, by the head, if you're using the head, and one hook down by the back of the body, it falls down really nicely. You minimize getting line tangles. And if I hook it by the back portion, the tail portion, I usually put the first hook through where the tail was, and then the second hook through mid-body. Same kind of thing. So if it's going down, that it goes down with the least amount of resistance. Closed captioning brought to you by Leguano, natural barefoot technology for every adventure. It's so nice and calm. That wind has died right down. And you know what? We gotta go in because I've got fish to clean and fish to cook, which is okay. And even though we've caught lots of these nice grouper, I've kept some smaller fish for eating. I'm using a pretty heavy fluorocarbon leader, so it's kind of nice because you can pick up the fish with it, no problem. Look at, isn't that a nice grouper? And he's just hooked with one hook. Got it. That was easy. Look at, nice little grouper. And he's gonna go back. Go back to the bottom where you belong. Come on, there he goes. Let me fix this meat up because I think it's okay for one more fish. It's one of these, how do you stop fishing when you keep getting bites? So this was half of one of those blue runners. I'm gonna rehook it because fighting that fish tore the hole a little bit bigger. They've got a very tough spine, so I got to be just off the spine. Yeah, no, that might be enough to get another fish on. And if not, no problem. We're going to go home and prepare fish for dinner. That was fun. I caught a lot of nice grouper, let them go, but I kept enough smaller fish for me to have a fresh fish meal. Time to run and enjoy the fruits of the sea. This evening's dinner is a nice mix of smaller bottom fish. For this hungry fisherman that enjoys variety, the smaller fish will be just fine. I usually start by cleaning the smallest fish first. I always start by cutting behind the head, through the rib cage, and then running the knife upside down along the back. Then I start separating the fillet from the vertebrae. I try and use the tip of the knife to ensure I don't leave any meat on the spine. I carefully work around the rib cage and separate the fillet from the body just above the belly. I repeat the same steps on the other side. Next, I move to the porgy. This is where having a sharp, pointed fillet knife really helps. I carefully use my left hand to gently put pressure on the fish so that I can make a precision cut. Once the outline of the fillet is cut, I gently work my way down the body. It really helps to have a hold on the fish so that it doesn't slide, making for nice cutting and also safe cleaning. Time to fillet the snapper. They have a much softer skin, and the process is much easier gliding the fillet knife along the back down the fillet. I repeat the process on the flip side. As I remove each fillet, I can see my little stockpile building up. Lastly, I start filleting the first snapper I caught on the small jig. Feels much easier tracing the fillet outline with the knife tip on the larger small fish. I get through the fillet, separate it, flip the fish over, and repeat the process. The more fish you clean, I find, the easier it gets. Once the fillets are all removed, I start removing the lateral line bones. I do this by making a cut on either side of the bone strip just below the rib cage. I don't have to go all the way to the back since these bones end at the rib cage. If done properly, the bone strip just lifts out. Especially with smaller fish though, I make sure all the small bones are removed. Best way to do this is to check with your finger and run it down the lateral line and make sure you've got all the bones out. If there's any, I use the fillet knife tip and remove them. Once the lateral line bones are all removed, I rinse off the fish cleaning table and it's time to separate the fillets from the skin. I do this by pinning the tail of the fillet skin side down with my fingernail and proceed to slide the fillet knife from the tail to the head of the fillet. This is where it's important to angle the knife blade just right so that all of the flesh comes off the skin without cutting through the skin. This may look easy, but when you work with smaller fillets on a smooth cleaning table, it can be tough, especially when there's water. Not as easy as I make it look. Once the fillets are boneless and skinless, it's time to rinse them off, making sure I don't jet them into the canal. It was a bit of work to fillet these little guys, but I'm proud of that little fish pile. I let the fish pieces drain and place them nicely on a platter, ready to cook them. Just the right amount of fish for an individual fresh fish meal. Time to deliver them to the cook. That's me. Tonight's recipe is fresh pan-fried bottom fish fillets. I start with adding some butter to the frying pan. I set the heat just past medium so that the butter starts to melt fast. I season the fillets with a mix of roasted garlic, paprika, salt, and pepper. First one side, then gently turn the fillets over and season them on the other side. I take some crunchy breadcrumbs and add them to the mixing bowl. The butter is melting nicely and it's time to move the melted butter around so it coats the whole bottom of the pan. Each fillet is gently placed in the bowl, dabbed and turned several times and carefully coated with the breadcrumbs. The coated fillet is placed in the frying pan and other fish pieces are coated and added to the pan. Perfect. I was able to add all the fillets to cook at one time. Add a few smaller pieces of butter, and as it melts, I make sure it evenly goes under all the fillets. The fillets are cooked 3 to 4 minutes on one side and are gently turned over and allowed to finish cooking on the other side for about 2 or 3 minutes. Time to wash hands, get ready to remove the cooked fillets. I make sure the pieces don't stick and gently remove them and place them on the platter. You know, I'm looking at this fish. It's such a simple recipe. All I did was fillet the fish. And you know, I don't eat a lot of fish because I was just on my own today and eating on my own. And it's funny because I threw some nice grouper back and I kept a couple of fish off camera. A porgy, couple of snapper, one fish that looked like a Bahama chub, you know, and so on. And that's enough. Look, I've got a big platter here. We're probably gonna have leftovers. What I did was fillet the fish very carefully. I removed the T-bones that are along the Y bones, the lateral line, and then I took them off the skin, rinsed them off, literally brought them inside, got the frying pan out, put a little bit of butter inside, and put some seasoning on the fish. I really like the seasonings that you can buy even at the bulk food store, of roasted garlic, roasted pepper, and there's a little bit of salt and pepper in it. So that's why it looked a little bit red when I was putting it on. And then of course the panko, which is the seasoned breadcrumbs. If you haven't used panko, you can get it in most grocery stores throughout North America, and it's crispy. And even though this looks like it's burned, it's not burned. It's actually golden brown or a little blackened. So this is the real taste test. Let me just see here. I'm gonna take a small piece. I did it just right, so it wouldn't be too overcooked, because all of these bottom fish are not fatty. They're not like mackerel. They're very lean, and you don't have to cook them very long. You want to still have a little bit of moist flesh inside, which this has. So let's try this. I can't believe, you know, there's one thing of buying fish, catching fish and freezing fish, and then eating them later. But even though it's a lot of work, and it's a full day, I love to go out for a few hours, catch the fish, clean the fish, cook the fish, enjoy the fish. That's the catch, and here's the catch. And this is amazing. I'm gonna have a feast here. We might have a little bit of a salad later. This is kind of keto. We used a little bit of butter in there. The breadcrumbs are carbs, but you know what? We worked hard today. So this is a great way to finish the day. Wow, unbelievable. One day I wandered out on the sea, searching for something that really found me. I didn't know it, but it drew me to it. Soon I was full of its passion in me. I'm Italo Labignan. 40 years I've fished the world and have learned it's not just about catching the fish, the size of the fish, or the numbers. It's about appreciating every sunrise and sunset, the smell of the sea, savoring the culture and the fish with friends. Here's the catch. It's the total experience. Presented by Bear Reels, versatile, precision, handcrafted hybrid center pins. Seabreeze Boats, tame the oceans. Raymarine Electronics. Raymarine, simply superior.